Kind of dark, isn't it, folks? Hey, well, listen. In about a week, the days start getting longer. We start moving closer to the sun. And however you look at it, it's a grand universe, and it always works. You wake up in the morning, and the sun is rising. You go to bed at night, and the sun is turning away from you, or the earth is turning away from the sun. With God we go to spread the joy of life. We win each day the happiness of love. We count our blessings. We give thanks, we give joy. Stop the cruel. Stop the cruel. Jesus says to us, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. That's right. I don't like fighting back. No, I don't like fighting back. And he says, and if any person will sue thee at the law for your coat, give him your cloak also. And John the Baptist said that too, remember? He said if you have two coats, give one away. This is all from Matthew 5, the 5th chapter of Matthew. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Well, that's Madeline Chapin. She helped me with 3 kitty cats that people couldn't afford to get them ready to live in a house. If you have cats and live in a house, you have to do this. And they couldn't afford to do it. And I found the money to do it. But she went the 20 miles. She went all the way up to Scotia, 20 miles. That's you, Madeline Chapin. And give to him that ass. That's not much of a problem, except when you get 30 letters in your mailbox every month asking for money. That's pretty hard. And from him that would borrow of thee, turn not him away. I have a problem with that one. Loaning is not a good idea. That's how you lose friends. I would rather give him the money. No, I won't loan money. I loaned a woman $2,500 once because she had 8 cats and the sheriff was coming to put her out onto the sidewalk. And I loaned her $2,500 and she paid back some of it and worked some of it off. But that was 3-4 years ago, and the balance is $800. So $800 has to be a gift. Now listen to this, folks. Jesus says, but I say unto you, love your enemies. Do you have any enemies? Bless those that curse you. Does anybody curse you? Do good to them that hate you. Does anybody hate you? And pray for those who despitefully use you and persecute you. Yep, okay. We'll pray for everybody. We pray for those people who haven't made the connection. We pray. Tonight we have a prayer group. St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church prayer group. So we'll pray for those people who haven't made the connection so they can have all the fun and glory and happiness and wealth and success and peace and fulfillment. And yesterday at the Nassau Reformed Church we had the children's pageant about the Nativity. That was pretty amusing. Now let's see, it's getting pretty dark. What time is it? It's almost dark at 4:25. And what date is it? This cheer up session is for Wednesday, December 17th. And 21 minus 17. There's only 4 days until we have the shortest day of the year and the longest night. Isn't it wonderful? That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. Well, you are. You know what the whole concept is? Remember the universe? God is a great big sphere, tens of thousands of light years, is it ever? And you and I are just little tiny specks. And all the goodness and happiness and joy of that universe flows through us all the time. If we're happy, we'll use it for others. If we're unhappy, we use it for ourselves. So, that's how we are children of God. God is the universe and we are the little tiny specks. But I don't want you to think we're separate. We're all connected somehow. Hold on, folks. But God makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and he makes his rain to fall on the evil and the good. And if you salute those who are your brethren, what great thing have you done there? Anybody can do that, Jesus says. And if you well, I guess it's the same thing. And if ye salute your brethren only, what do you more than anybody else? I salute everybody. Anybody who comes into view, I say, hi, how are you? I have to do that, folks, because I can't see them. And I don't know if they're friend or foe, so to be on the safe side, hi, how are you? And here's the last 2 lines of the book of Matthew, New Testament, chapter 5. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. We can be perfect. Don't you believe people when they say you can't be perfect? Now, and that's why I'm happy. I believe in all those good things. And that's why you're going to be happy. No. Why did the man play his wedding videotape backwards? Why did he keep playing his wedding videotape backwards? So he could see himself walk out of church a free man. This is How to Be Happy, number 38, for Wednesday, December 14. And our word for today is alchemy, and I didn't bring the definition. So let's try it from memory. The alchemy was the ancient science, and the first thing they tried to do was to change the baser metals into gold. Then gold wouldn't have had the value. And then they tried to find the universal cure for disease. And their third goal was to find a method to live forever. I don't think God wanted it that way. I don't think that's the way God set it up. Listen, God be with you. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you peace. Amen. This is a vegetarian ham made of grain. And over here we have our New England boiled dinner cabbage, potato, turnip, carrots, parsnips. These beets came out of the garden of Richard and Pat. This pot's empty, Pat.
No, it's still got
Cabbage?
it's got some cabbage and some
Potato?
not rutabagas, the other things.
Potatoes?
Turnips.
Turnips. I don't know where this word rutabaga came from. I always thought there were turnips and that's it. You gonna cook these potatoes, Pat?
Well,
You don't want to, huh?
Well, no, I just didn't have room for them. I've got four potatoes, so I can throw some more in.
Yes, please.
I'll put.
Now, we don't know how many people are coming to the Glendora Vegetarian Club tonight. Wouldn't it be funny if there were only 2 or 3? But we picked a number out of the sky, and we picked 14. Number 14.
I want to talk about a monk, a Buddhist monk.
Yeah, now we're gonna have enough, yeah, we should have enough chairs, right?
Oh, I think so,
Yeah,
yes.
you said about 14.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Just pull that number out of the air.
chairs
With not eating animals, they just don't get it. So a lot of Western Buddhist centers and Dharma centers
Glendora,
where I
you expect
study
about 14
still
people?
serve eggs and cheese and other animal products in which the animals are harmed terribly.
14 or
One of the
12,
board
something
members
like
of
that.
Dharma
Something like
Voices of
that?
Animals is a
Yeah.
wonderful monk named Tashi Nyima. And he tells the story that I just love. So he starts with a quote from the Buddha that says, having laid down the knife, scrupulous, full of mercy, trembling with compassion for all sentient beings, we refrain from taking life. And he says, I'm going to paraphrase this. I gave you the link in the handout of where to read the story.
Andy, will you
But
open
he
the
says
back
one
door
night he
when
and
Pat
another monk
comes?
were walking down the street and they heard
Yeah.
the
Or
screaming
Doug, you know where
cries
it
of a
Yeah,
young man.
I can do it.
Okay.
Is she gonna knock on the door?
Men were
Yeah.
beating up this
Oh,
young
no.
kid.
All right.
And Tashi's friend said, come on, we have to help
And
him.
then she has to
Went
bring
up
in
these
2
two
things,
kids
honey.
who
She has to
were
bring in the
pulling
vegetarian
this little
ham.
boy.
Yeah, all right.
Wouldn't it be more fun to beat up 2 monks than this young kid? And the 2 boys cursed
Mike
and
walked
made
right
some
at
horrible
the-
noises and
at the
stopped
door.
beating up the kid and went away.
There's a window
So they
out
called
here,
an ambulance and the
and
kid
the
was
door
taken
can't
away
open.
with the,
No.
with
Where
the
you- where I could
paramedics.
stand there
And my
and look
friend
through
Tashi
the-
turned to the senior monk and said,
No.
did you know that we weren't going to get
Not that I
But I
know.
could go up and
Because we
see
took
your
a vow of
apartment.
nonviolence. They're
You
not
can go
allowed
out.
to defend themselves.
You can go out and open
Buddhist
the
monks
door
are not
now.
supposed to fight even to defend themselves. So he was kind of nervous.
That
He
would be
said,
nice.
did you know that we
Yeah, I'll
weren't
stay here, because she's probably
ourselves?"
coming shortly, right?
The other monk
Yes, very
said,
shortly.
"No, but it was our duty. When confronted with suffering, it's our duty
What'd
to
you
get
do
in
all
the
day,
way,
Andrew?
to stand between those who would do
Well,
harm.
I never
These
seen
things
kids in my
are-
place as I had expected
I
to,
love that
because
story, and it
they
goes
got
on to
tied up
say, as a
and
vegan,
straightened out some other
we're
stuff.
getting in the way. We're standing up and saying, the cruelty that's being inflicted on these animals in my name, I don't want it done in my name. It's wrong, and I will get in the way and do what I can to stop
Wake
the
up
raising of
thinking,
animals for food.
Figure you're gonna
I
have,
want to point out the
Go a certain
reason,
way in the
I'll
day
tell a
and
story. When I became a vegetarian in 1985, after I edited the book.
Tomorrow will you get there?
today.
California.
Tomorrow?
I think tomorrow I'll get up there. Then I
I
have
was
to
so
get
proud
back.
of my change to vegetarian
to
diet. I was
Barbara.
like, wow,
Once
this is
we
a
found
huge
all
change.
things
This is
around.
really big. I met people who would say to me over and over again, you're still
I'm gonna
eating
try to leave
cheese?
really early.
You're still eating dairy? You're still eating eggs? I was appalled. I was like, how dare you tell me that's not enough? I made the biggest change in my life. I pissed off everyone in my family, and you're telling me it's not enough? Where do you come off telling me it's not enough? And everyone said, read Diet for a New America by John Robbins. Read this book by John Robbins called Diet for a New America. John Robbins is the son of Baskin and Robbins' founder. And he turned down this business, a multi-million-dollar career he could have had, and he turned it down on ethical reasons. But I finally read it, and overnight I became vegan, because what I learned in that book is astounding. The lives of dairy cows and the lives of the hens who lay eggs are by far the most tortured lives of any animal being raised for food. I would rather this is disgusting and it's not really true, but I'd rather see people eating cow flesh than eating eggs and dairy. I don't want to see anyone eating flesh of any animal, but the animals raised for their eggs and for their milk have the worst lives. And if anyone values motherhood, if anyone cherishes the idea, the concept of motherhood, the bond between a mother and a child, the dairy cow story is just
What is her
heartbreaking.
name?
Dairy cows are kept pregnant their entire young lives.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Artificially inseminated
Is
over and
this,
over again, so
she's
they
a
will
vegan.
continue to produce milk.
And this is the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii.
Within 2 days of birth. It's often the same day.
Very
sometimes
strong,
it's
and
2
they
days
have a
later.
whole bunch on
But
the
the baby
computer.
cries
all
for
of
the mother,
these
and the
vegan
mother
lectures.
cries for the baby, and the sound is
They're very
heartbreaking.
strong,
You'll
very
never forget it if you
influential.
ever hear it. They really run up and down
Here's
the fence
another one,
looking for each
farm
other and
animals.
screaming and crying for each other.
Farm
separating
Animal
the
Rights
mother from
Movement
her
is what it
child
stands for.
within days of childbirth. And it's done over and over again until the animal's milk production isn't quite profitable
Patty
enough.
Brighton.
And then the mother cow too is sold for
Patty,
the
her
flesh.
name is Patty
So
Brighton.
hamburger meat
Oh,
comes
thank you,
from dairy
F-R-I-G-H-T?
and veal is the male offspring of dairy cows. So the veal industry is the same as the dairy industry. When you're eating veal, it's a
Well,
baby
thank you.
cow from a dairy cow. And if it's a female, she grows up to have the same miserable life her mother had, which is impregnated over and over again.
Well,
and
that's
have
a good
babies
place.
that are taken away from her.
I didn't leave.
It's really ugly and it's really sad. Now, the chicken industry, the
anyway,
egg
I don't
industry,
have it.
everyone thinks, well, eggs don't hurt.
Are you coming in this way?
I am.
With things?
Were you waiting for me? I didn't.
Yeah, I
I'm
was.
sorry.
It's all right, I just-
I had told Glendora I would call, and then
Oh.
I can't find my phone.
Oh.
Good job.
Right.
Hatcheries
Andy, you
where the
wanna go out and
babies
help
are
Pat
hatched.
bring in?
Sure, yeah.
Only the females are valued for egg laying operation, because that's only females can lay eggs. So at a hatchery, half the chicks that are born are male and half are female. The females are put either in cages or huge, usually cages in the egg laying thing. The females are put in cages and they are kept in cages their whole lives and they produce eggs under horrible conditions. The males are of no value. They're not bred for their meat. They're the wrong kind of chick to be bred for meat. So the day they're hatched, there's someone on an assembly line looking at each one. Females go this way, males go that
Where are you
way.
working?
The males are ground up alive and killed the day they're hatched in a giant machine, a macerating machine. It's kind of like a disposal in your sink, but an
Halloween.
industrial size one.
Door's
And the
gonna
baby
stay
chicks are
open.
killed the day they
We'll
hatch
clear it
because
out.
they're male and of no use to the industry. Sometimes they're suffocated in plastic
is hot.
garbage bags and just thrown in a big trash bag in the
Which table?
closed and they suffocate.
Which table for these items? Back here? The two big ones?
We're
Yep.
killing the baby males so that we can get the females to lay the eggs.
Oh,
It's very hot.
So,
Toby,
on
I don't know
ethical
if we should even
grounds
sit on
alone,
the
I
glass.
think anyone who is going vegan is doing the right thing. And
Glass
yet,
milk.
like any other
Yeah,
movement, like
sure
any other
does.
cuisine, there are different camps. There are people who will tell you, if you're vegan, it's stupid
Hi.
to be a low-fat vegan and a no-oil vegan and a no-salt
Hi.
vegan and a whole foods
We gotta make a
plant-based
little
diet
room.
vegan, because that's where
We
you
open
bang
these
for the
dishes.
buck in terms of health.
I don't know how hot that
That's
one is that
probably
you're
true.
cookies are doing.
In terms of health.
Oh, I did, I ate one of each kind.
Come on.
I was gonna try to see
Just
this
as
on
soon as
the
it was
wood.
noon.
So
Sometime.
I think if you're a fast
You're a
food
good
junkie,
cook.
you're
What
was your favorite?
Vanilla on the chocolate.
I think so, yes.
All right.
You may be killing yourself at the same
Alright.
time
Yes,
on vegan
it
junk
was
food as
vanilla
you do
like fudge on the
animal-based
chocolate
junk
fudge.
food.
Okay.
But we're doing a favor to the earth and to the animals, so.
Anyway, they were all good.
Vegan
Oh,
vegans
maybe
never
the
wrong,
sugar
even
cookie
if
with
we're
a chocolate
doing it
chip.
the way
Okay,
it is
so
in
if
the
the food is all here.
The paleo diet became very popular recently.
I
People want to go
can't.
back to the way our Neanderthal ancestors ate.
See,
It's a
that's
very
not it.
meat-centered
No, it's
diet.
got a pink
A
case.
brilliant woman.
Oh, I saw that around here.
You
Over on that table.
decided that all these people
Right?
were going to
Right there?
No.
She wrote a book.
Okay, over here in this bookcase.
So now if you want to live a paleo diet, there's a vegan way to do it.
No.
In fact, there are so many vegan
must have
books
left
out
it
there. When I first became a vegan.
No, I
read
saw
every
one
vegan
around
cookbook
here.
that was out there.
What are you looking for now?
Her phone.
Maybe 6 or 7
Her
of them.
phone.
Oh, her phone.
My favorite was
Ah,
by
here we
Jennifer
are.
Raymond. It was called The Peaceful Palate. But even before that, back in the 1940s or 50s, there was a book called
Is that
Seven
the same, a view of the
Talents.
same,
There was a
only from a
wonderful
different angle?
macrobiotic, simple
This
book
one
on
was
how to
good.
eat vegan. It didn't use the word vegan, it was just called 10 Talents. I still have that copy, it's falling apart. There were only about 5 cookbooks that I could ever
Jill,
find when I
you
first went
remember
vegan.
Barbara and
For the first
Andrew?
2 or 3 years,
And
anytime a
you
new vegan
remember pepper duck.
Yeah,
I
'cause we,
saw him at the Thanksgiving
yeah,
dinner,
there was a Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, over at,
West End Lake.
yeah, West Sand Lake, the
Oh,
Baptist
okay.
Church.
Yeah.
He told me that they do that once a month on the fourth Sunday.
These people
They
came
do?
After
over
their
for
service.
Thanksgiving.
They do?
Yeah, and he said to do it in December, so it's gotta be after Christmas.
Nice, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, I think it may be a smaller dinner, but he says they do some kind of a dinner.
Well, at 6:05, we can start eating.
Now, was that on Thanksgiving Day or on the?
No, Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Is this at the West End Lake?
I don't know what church it is.
It's the Baptist church.
We can start eating?
Yes, start eating.
Help ourselves.
Help yourselves.
And we teach you how to buy the jackfruit. And there's something else you can do
Oh,
with
put
jackfruit
it
too,
on
to
over
put it in wraps. Anyway.
Yeah, it was
it's
nice. It was at
fascinating.
noon. They serve every year. They do.
Right.
Oh, but we got a good Thanksgiving dinner at my house.
Yeah, we
You
did,
brought.
but I'm just saying, I've never tried it.
Was it vegan?
Because of all the kinds of
Oh,
things
that's
it can
right.
be, I
It wasn't
really
vegan.
like the
It
health
was not
benefits.
vegan.
I like Dr. Esselstein's book on prevention.
Did you know
of
if Helen
disease,
is
Dr.
coming
Caldwell
with
Esselstyn.
Gloria?
So they're
My
not coming.
grandfather
they're not.
died of a
Because
heart
they
attack
had
at age
prayer.
55.
Prayer.
Yeah.
My father died of a heart attack
No,
at
they're
age
not coming.
75. My uncle
So
died of a heart attack
next
at
month,
age
we
89.
get back to the
So I
fourth
see the writing on
Wednesday?
the wall,
Is it
and
the
I.
fourth or
Yes.
third
Dr.
Wednesday?
Esselstyn
No, the
says
last
that
Wednesday.
Fourth,
then
last
what
Last
happens. So
Wednesday.
I'm the kind of
Not
vegan that
necessarily
does
the
the
fourth, the last
minimal-
Wednesday.
Oh, it's the
minimal
last,
oils,
whatever that
sugars.
is.
It's the
Okay.
28th.
Doesn't mean I don't eat them, but I
28.
minimize it to
We're
the
not
best of
gonna
my
use these
ability.
on holidays.
But any kind of
They use
veganism
these?
is good veganism. Anyway, there are recipes in here
Yeah.
I won't eat because there were
Because
three
they got the
co-authors.
sides on
We
them.
had
Yeah,
a lot
and
of
they're more
discussion,
holiday-ish.
that's the polite
Yeah.
word. We had a lot of
Right.
discussion while we were writing the book about what should be in the book or not. My view was, this is for people over 50, you've got to give them the healthiest recipes, you've got to do the kind that
Pat
Esselstyn's
lost her
recommending, or
phone.
the T. Colin Campbell
Poor
recommends,
Pat.
or that Dr. McDougall recommends.
Probably sitting
or
around
Warren
somewhere.
recommends. I wanted the healthiest recipes.
Somebody
only.
open this.
My very wise co-authors, however, said, this is an entry point for people. You've got to give them what's familiar.
And
You've
there's
gotta
butter
tell
to
them you
put
don't
on
have to
it
give up
and
your mac
salt and
cheese.
pepper.
You don't have to give up your chocolate cake. You don't have to give up your cheesecake. You don't have to give up your pulled pork. I never even had heard of pulled pork. I know it's a big thing in
There's
some
space up
communities,
there.
but I hadn't heard of it. And now I know how to make it with jackfruit.
Go ahead, I'll be up
Anyway,
later.
So there are some recipes.
Is there
in
any
here that I make,
knives?
There are many that I don't make.
right here.
Yes,
Promise,
nice.
all three of us contributed
They are.
recipes.
Thank you.
And the recipes I contributed are the simplest, have the fewest ingredients, and mostly came from Jennifer Raymond, my dear friend who wrote The Peaceful Palate, my favorite cookbook. When I asked her if I could borrow some of her recipes for this book, she said, absolutely, any ones you want. You have my permission in writing. I had her sign any recipes you want. Please put in your book. So I took a lot of her recipes and I
Find
read them.
it?
They're easy,
No, I
they're fast,
didn't
they're delicious.
Find
they're
it, Pat?
healthy. You
Nope.
only need one pot
So I'm gonna go
to
take
cook it.
another
You
look
don't
at my
have to
car,
saute
maybe
it,
it
you
fell
don't
on the
have to
floor or
add that.
something.
I love her recipes. A lot of them are in here.
Pat, I saw one around here.
Wanted a
did?
separate permission
Or
for
was it
every
on your
recipe.
dining room table
So
or
I had to
something?
go back
You
to
might
the
have
dear
seen it
generous
there.
friend and say, well, you said I could take any recipe I want, but I need
I
you to
didn't
sign these
get
8
it out
different
here, I know that.
permission
Oh,
slips
you
to
know
use
that.
your
I
recipe.
don't think so,
Anyway,
no, I didn't try to make a
You will find
call.
every kind of recipe in this book.
Be careful out there, you'll
There's also
fall.
raw
Okay.
veganism. There are people who only eat raw food, though in all honesty, the people I know who call themselves raw vegans are only raw vegans about 70 to 80% of the time. They
We're
will
having a
occasionally
woman,
make a sweet potato
coming, and
eating,
she's
or they
gonna
will have
teach us
brown
how to
rice
eat
or
raw.
quinoa and eat
Oh,
it. It's
really?
not
Good.
an
Yeah.
all or nothing deal.
Coming all the way
What
from
I
Pine
love
Plains?
about all of these different ways to
Really?
the paleo
That's
vegans,
quite a
they
hike.
love
Yeah.
Oh, you know
sugar,
Pine
salt,
Plains, honey?
oil,
Yeah, it's south of
oil,
here.
fast food,
That's
junk
a
food.
Quite
ways.
a ways.
What I
Is it?
love about it
Oh, it's 40-some
is
miles or
when
so,
you're on
maybe.
At
any
least.
diets and you
Yeah.
fall
Or
off
more.
the wagon,
Yeah.
you're still a
Sure,
vegan.
she's very
In
dedicated
other
about
words, you
people
can eat
eating raw.
paleo, and then one day you decide you want to
Her
have
name's
some 21st
Johanna.
century cheesecake. Vegan.
Now what is this?
You're still a
Tonight,
vegan.
she spoke to
You're
me.
not compromising your ethics,
What
and
is
you're
it?
not hurting the planet.
Oh, that's a
You're
grain, it's made from
and you
grain,
decide you
and it's
really,
ham,
really want to have
vegetarian ham,
lentil stew.
Really?
made from
So you
grain.
have lentil stew. It's not evil.
Delicious.
There's nothing wrong with it. You're not hurting animals. You're not hurting the planet. You're not even hurting yourself. It's a marvelous meal. When you fall off the wagon on any of these vegan sects, they're like sects. S-E-C-T-S, sects. They're like sororities. You're all
Yeah,
in the
you're a
same
good
college,
cook.
but these are different
You worked
sororities.
hard on those, honey.
Thanks.
You're not falling off the wagon.
The balls,
You feel like, oh
the
my God, I
chocolate.
had sugar.
That's my
Low,
favorite.
you will live,
It is?
it's not
I think my
going to kill you
favorite would be the
tomorrow.
How
are you?
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Glendora.
Sandy, here's your disc.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glendora.
Yeah, it's a half an hour, and the last half hour is black. It's just random.
Okay.
First half hour is program, the last half hour. You know,
He had all kinds of sorbet kind of flavors and one really
Thank
decorative
you.
creamy chocolate one, and
Sandy,
swore it was
Andy,
vegan. I read the ingredients
Barbara,
and I had it.
Jill, and Doug. And Pat has lost her telephone.
It was delicious.
And
Do
your
I make
aunt.
it a daily habit? No. Do I make it a weekly habit?
And
No.
it's
Does
Andy.
anyone harm
Wait
me?
a minute.
Andrew couldn't come.
We don't have to become
No,
fanatics.
he and Gary
I
have
speak
too
as
much
a
homework.
fanatic
This is
because I'm
report
fanatic
card
about
week,
veganism.
so
Wow.
I
But it's
can't
really
stay along
not
myself.
what you
Oh,
do.
report card.
Report
Gee, it's
card
always
week.
something.
This is a big tent and
We
everyone's
get a
welcome
quick
to
chance
this
to, I
tent.
put on a list
Once
of
you're in
those
the tent,
songs that I
you
was,
can
so we
explore
get a
the
quick
corners
chance
of
to
the
look
tent.
at it
You
before
can
you
try
go.
the raw
Okay.
It's
food.
just a sample of
Try
what
the
something would be
very
like.
healthy,
All right.
no fat, no sugar, no
Great.
salt. You can try the junk food.
Where's
booth.
Pat?
And I think
Pat's
it's a
out looking
transition
for her
food. It's
telephone.
marvelous.
Okay,
You can
outside
buy
because the
vegan
messages are Richard found it.
What, dear?
Richard found it at home. So is she out here?
Yeah, she's by her
Be
car.
careful you don't fall out there.
won't.
I know
Hi,
it's
Pat.
hard.
Richard had found your phone.
Made it into burgers. And when I was
Yeah.
thinking about it, taste the lighter, you can hardly taste it. I tasted the mustard, the sprouts, the tomatoes, the avocado, and the bread.
Did you find
And
it?
the taro got lost.
No,
So I
Sandy
tasted
said
it,
Richard
and I
called
tasted
and
it,
he
I said,
found it.
It doesn't have a very strong flavor. They didn't
Oh,
really
Richard
put
found it?
burgers.
Apparently,
They didn't need to.
he did.
But anyway, there's a place in this big vegan tent, there's a place for everybody.
Who's this talking on the video, Glendora?
Oh, she's good. She's a vegan.
That's
She's not a doctor, not a PhD, she's a vegan. And she says it's never too late to become vegan.
Hawaii, it's always warm,
And
so
she
I don't know
is
about
good.
living here. But in
By
California,
the
when
way,
it's
it's
warm
the
out,
Hawaiian
I can live all day
vegetarian
on fruit
side.
smoothies and watermelon and
And Pat's been
I
cooking
just
all
love to be
afternoon.
raw in the summer, and when it gets colder, I want my soups.
My
and I
house
want
is
my
all
sweet potatoes,
steamed
and I want my lentils, and I want my chickpeas, so I cook
Smells
more
good,
food
doesn't
when
it,
it's
Pat?
colder. There's no right or wrong in this, it's about not harming the planet, not harming yourself. Another reason we
Are
wrote
you
this
not
book
gonna
for
eat,
people over
Glenda?
50
I
is
am.
once we
I'm
get
waiting
to
for
see the
mine to
signs, we
finish.
realize that we have a legacy we're gonna leave when we're no longer on the planet. And people will remember the impact we had. In the Jewish religion, they say when somebody dies, he still lives on earth in the acts of goodness he performed and in the hearts of those who cherish his memory. So people remember you, and as long as there are people alive who remember you, your spirit is still alive. In my way of thinking of it, if we're saving animals' lives every single day, and we're doing what we can to slow down this climate change that's really ravishing the planet, and we're doing everything we can to make a difference with the streams and the oceans and rainforests and the animals who are going extinct at really record-breaking rates. If we're doing everything we can to make the place better rather than worse, we're leaving a legacy that our grandchildren won't be ashamed of. I can't imagine what our grandchildren will think when they're in their 60s and 70s and 80s and they think, I wonder why my grandparents didn't do anything. They knew it was this bad.
Yeah,
They knew we could change it. Why didn't they try to change it? And it's like changing a giant cruise ship. When you change direction, you can't just turn on a dime like a sports car. It's a very slow thing, but everyone has to do it. And that's why I love
These
the
are some of
Venus
the
Monday paradigm.
exhibits
If everyone did it,
Vegan
it would have a much
Society
bigger
of
impact than
Albany,
just that,
the
a few people
exposition.
here do it, a few people there do it. And what's brilliant, when I first heard about Meatless Monday, I said, what the heck difference is one day a week gonna make? But on two counts, I was wrong. First of all, the more people who do it, the more difference it does make. Second
Get
of
that
all,
out of my back.
when you go meatless one day a week, you explore the recipes, and sometimes you eat it 2 days, because you have leftovers. And sometimes there's more than one recipe you want to try. It turns out that people who go meatless one day a week end up going meatless more than one day a week. They see that it's very interesting. It's a new cuisine. So veganism can be seen as a new cuisine, just like I'm trying Indian food for the first time, or I'm trying Thai food for the first time. It's a cuisine. Try it
How about some bread?
and
No, I can do
experiment
it.
with it. So I kind of changed my mind about the Meatless Monday paradigm, because people who will try it even one day a week very often become more and more enamored of it and will do it more than one day a week. That it's more important to connect with people than to change their minds. When I became a new vegan, I wanted everyone to know it and I wanted everyone to do it. It's like, I can't believe I didn't know this until I was 30-something years old. Do you know what we're doing to animals? Do you know what we're doing? I was like, I was just so excited about it. I wanted everyone to be just like me. I wanted them to change. And I wanted them to read this book and make this change. And you don't change anybody's mind like that. You just look like you're a fanatic. And I became a fundamentalist vegan. I was a fundamentalist. It's like you're either on my team or you're not on my team. So I was so black and white thinking. I was so, you gotta do it and you gotta do it now. And Joanna Macy told me it's much more important to connect with people heart to heart than it is to change their mind. And the reason this is true is you can't change anybody's mind.
Here's Sandy.
Well, I'll come back.
Change your mind. It has to come from you.
Hold on,
And the
Glendora.
only way anyone will listen to your message is if they feel listened to,
That looks
if
like
they feel
parsnip.
heard.
Oh,
if they
that's a
feel
parsnip.
included. It's not that they'll change once they understand you. and once
You
they
go ahead, Patty, that's
the
too much.
connection isn't there. So it's much more important
I
to
look like
people as
a
people.
construction
And
worker?
remember that very few of us were born
Oh, this
vegan.
came out
We
nice
came
with
to it
that.
slowly.
good.
That's a
in our
good
own
one.
time,
That's
and we came to it because our minds changed, our else changed.
Yeah,
before
no, I
us.
like it like that.
So I love that. I love remembering that connecting.
enough
with
turnip
people
here to
is much
last
more
me, yeah.
important. And as I
For
said,
the rest of the winter.
having something social going on in your life, even if it's a once-a-month meeting of any kind, having something to look forward to going to with other people is just as important.
I don't know where
as diet
they
and
must have
living
been
a long,
underneath.
healthy life.
Yeah, they were sort of covered by the oil.
So I don't know if anyone knows this song. I know it's a campfire song or a Girl Scout song, but it's so relevant to our message here.
It's okay to eat the skin with that?
Make new friends
Oh,
and
yeah.
keep the
It's my skin, like, peeled right off. It's okay to eat it?
others gold.
I eat
Does
it.
anyone know that song?
Okay.
Maybe you haven't heard that song before.
Okay.
No, anyway, the lyrics are make new
Right.
friends.
Yeah, it's
I'm
better
not
to
gonna
do it
make you
that
sing
way.
it. I was thinking of having a singer in Rapids, but I thought that's a
Right.
bit much. But anyway, it's a beautiful song. It's make new friends but keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold. And I think it's a wonderful message for being a
sang that
vegan
today at
because you don't want to give up your non-vegan friends and you certainly don't want them ditching you.
What are
just
they again?
because
What are they
think you're
called?
difficult
Turnips?
now. It's not about them and
Oh,
it's not about
yellow.
you.
The parts,
So
Parch-
it's important
parch-
to make
this-
new
this is
friends who are
parch-
vegan.
Okay.
It's very good to connect with someone else
Pretty
who's on
good.
that
Here, I
path or who can help you on that path.
Got a little
or just
flavor to it.
inspire you on that
little
path.
flavor and it's a
But
little
it's
sweet.
important that you do not lose your friends who aren't vegan because you must remember you weren't vegan too. When you made those friends, you weren't vegan. So why would you suddenly judge or dismiss
where are our
or not
people?
want to be
I
with
guess
a
this is
friend
going to
who
be
hasn't
it.
had the same change you had? It seems so
Good
silly.
point.
My best friends in life are not vegans. And some of my best friends in life are not vegans. But they are lifelong
We planned on
friends.
about
And
12
I
of them.
adore them. And they admire me, they admit it, and when they're with me, they're pretty kind about wanting to make vegan choices. And they're the kinds of people who say, well, if you cook for me,
Wanna
I don't
pass
like
this
this all the
around?
time.
Doug, come on down here,
I
honey.
do cook for them when they're with me. but-
So I'd rather stay here.
People who are vegan
I can
because
see
I'm
everything
vegan,
from
and I
here.
show them how to. So
Talk
I
to
think it's
everybody.
really important to keep our old friends. And it's good that they admire us. I have a dear friend I've known since preschool. We called it, we didn't call it preschool then, we called it nursery
Farm
school.
Animal Rights Movement.
We went to a nursery school that was called Happy House, which now sounds like a rehab center, but it was really just a nursery school. We went to Happy House. So I've known him since I was about 3 or 4 years old. We grew up in the same neighborhood in New York. And it turns out last year, he was having terrible chest pains, and he had angina, and he needed a stent put in. So for the first time in all these 60-something years I've known him, he wanted to know how I eat, and he wanted to know recipes, and he wanted to know cookbooks, and son of a gun, he changed his diet, and he lost quite a few pounds. And it was very exciting for me, because I never proselytized to him. I never told him you should do this and you should do that.
What's her name?
You know what we did?
His life
We
was-
just boiled one
What was
vegetable
it?
after the other.
Mother, yeah.
Patty
And it's
Whiteman,
fascinating to watch.
B-R-E-I-T-M-A-N.
And it's delightful to watch. And now suddenly I'm his mentor. It's like he calls me.
Do you like her?
And he has a solar oven.
Very
Does
good.
anyone
Yeah,
here have a
she's
solar
pretty
oven?
good.
Yeah, it would be a
Oh,
great place
yeah.
for them. It's a giant
It's one
box
end.
with like reflectors on all the sides of the
Patty,
lid.
P-A-T-T-I.
So you put a pot in the middle and close the lids. And you can bake things in it, and you can steam vegetables in it, and you use no power except the sun. Anyway, he loves using his solar oven, and every time
Where's
he's
Joyce?
anywhere,
Where's
he takes it
Apple?
out and shows people, look, we have a solar oven. I
They
can
might
make
still
potatoes.
show up.
Watch this, I can
You
make a
never know.
stew, look at this. It's very exciting.
6:15.
So, I think it's important to talk openly about your veganism and not be a closet vegan. I think it's important to tell people I've changed my diet, especially with friendships. and especially with long-term relationships, you need to tell people, I've made a major change and I want you to support me in it. I'm not asking you to change, but I'd love your support, and I hope you'll keep me in your circle of friends.
I like
and
what
hope
she's
you'll
saying.
keep me
Yeah.
And I think that's a
involved
very,
in our
nice. It's not, you know, you're
relationships,
wrong
because you
and
can preempt that trend of
do what
people
you
unfriending
believe in.
you
Right.
on Facebook. Speaking of Facebook, I don't do Facebook, but my book has a Facebook page. So that's very exciting. So the book has its own Facebook page. I don't know how that works, but I think my co-author takes care of it. But I wanted everyone to know that if you are on Facebook and you do use Facebook, you can friend this book, whatever that means.
Never too late to go vegan.
I want to see if there's anything I didn't cover that I said I was going to cover. I want to talk about a few resources that I find totally invaluable. I love them. They will inspire you every day to stay on the vegan path or to enter the vegan stream. One of them is
How are
by
the beets,
Dr.
Pat?
Michael Greger, is an MD, and
I
he
don't
has a
know. I
website,
didn't have, I
They're
didn't get
good.
one.
Facts.
The beets are good.
Did I cook them all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were giving me a hard time.
Pat
And the parsnips
and
are
Rick
delicious.
grew them from their
Yeah, we
garden.
had the beets.
Really?
Oh, really?
Email, you will get
Oh,
from him
wonderful.
one article or video about
It's one thing I could
nutrition
contribute.
in one of the peer-reviewed journals.
They went, I know carrots winter well, but beets as well.
They last for quite a while. We put them in a crisper drawer in the refrigerator, and they do really well. And we got them into the refrigerator right away. We don't have a root cellar, so they just seem to be staying nice and
And it's the
firm.
best way to educate yourself. It's fabulous, and I would encourage everyone
We
to
used to
sign
have
up
a
for
root
this
cellar.
free
Parsnips
email
are
at
good.
nutritionfacts.org. I also want to recommend foodispower.org. Foodispower.org. And that is a website of an organization called the Food
My folks,
Empowerment
over
Project.
100 people
This
came
is
to
a
Bob
marvelous
Baum's
not-for-profit that
memorial
connects the
service.
dots
Remember
between
our Bob Baum
workers' rights,
who left us, who passed
animal
away?
rights,
Remember
human
Joyce with
rights,
the white hair and
and
Bob
the
Baum?
planet's health. It's the only organization I know that really looks at the
Remember
human
Joyce,
side
don't
of
you,
our
Barb?
food choices on
She had
all
white hair.
grounds. They talk about food
She always
scarcity
came
in
to our
neighborhoods
club.
that don't have
There
access to
last
healthy
month.
foods.
Yeah, she
They
was
do
here last
surveys
time.
in neighborhoods to talk about how it's easier to buy
her
liquor than to
husband
buy
passed
fresh fruit
away.
and vegetables. It's a marvelous organization
had a
called the
memorial
Food Empowerment
service for
Project. Their
over at the
website is
Quaker building.
foodispower.org. Also, the Factory Farming Awareness Coalition. The Factory
And over
Farming
100
Awareness
people were
Coalition is a
there.
marvelous organization
loved
that
it.
trains speakers to go to schools and not-for-profits.
How are you doing?
and give talks.
Glendora said you
And
had a
their foot in
fire.
the door is Factory
Yeah.
Farming.
Everything,
Once they get
did you
invited
lose a
to
lot of
speak, they talk about
A
animal
shed
rights,
with
and
a
they
bunch
talk
of
about
stuff
with
in
health,
it?
and
stuff
they talk
stored
about
in it?
the
Oh
planet
boy,
and climate
that
change.
must have been
So
scary.
Factory Farming
Oh,
is their foot in the
I
door,
don't think
and
I
they talk
recovered
about
from it
why
yet. I was
it's
scared to
really
death. It was
important.
coming right to my
They
house.
talk
It was
about
going up in the
sustainable
trees. It was
animal
going in the
habits.
neighbor's yard. It was all the
There's no
dry
such thing.
leaves.
Whether it's a small
It
farm
wasn't
or a
good.
big farm,
In the house
dairy
next
cow
door.
is still gonna poop 150 pounds of manure every day. Whether it's a big chicken facility or a small chicken facility, the
Yeah,
males
I
are still
emptied
filled
my
with
wood
that
stove and I
chicken.
took my tray
There's no
and I
such
dump
thing
it
as
usually in the
kind
creek
or
Yeah.
sustainable animal
It didn't go in the
agriculture on
creek.
any scale.
and I didn't pay any
So
attention. I thought it was in the creek. Went in the leaves. And I'm in my house and somebody pulls in my driveway. I said, "What's this?" He comes running in my house and goes, "You got a fire out back."
Wow.
So I went out with 3 big tubs of water and poured it on the leaves. I thought I got it out. And the third time I went out, I saw all the smoke coming
This
out
is
of my shed.
Glendora up here at the end. Glendora, you
And I looked
have,
underneath, there's the fire underneath my shed. It went up like that, went into the trees, was coming towards my house, was going towards the other neighbor's house.
Oh,
I had enough sense to call 911.
Yeah.
Setting up, I'm just introducing.
My niece come running over and says, "You gotta move your car."
Your display here?
And I didn't make a big.
And I'm like,
So,
Which not only helps you feed hungry people and
You wanna have the
right there, there's
station
keys.
here?
Move it.
Yeah.
Is that
The
enough?
fireman came and says, "You gotta get out of here, it's coming right to your house." I'm standing in my living room. So I grabbed my dogs and we went across the street to my niece's house and I sat in my car.
How many dogs do you have? Two?
2 little ones.
When was it? When was, how far, it wasn't that far back.
rainbow colors.
Excuse me?
How
It
lovely.
wasn't that long ago, right?
Probably
Are
3
you
weeks
all right,
ago.
honey? Do you need anything else from the car?
I'm very well.
Oh, you got everything
I
in
brought
it?
her I brought a raw dessert.
To me, cooking is a
Do you have a, down here you don't have a cooler, right?
No, we don't have a cooler.
Change the way you're eating, and you have an impact. You don't have
So
to
if
wait for
that
laws to
person
change.
going
You
by
don't have to wait
didn't
for
pull
the
in
elected
to let
officials
you
to
know,
tell us
it
how
would
to
have
say
been
it.
Yeah.
so much worse,
And how
right?
to
Yeah.
stop the
He
water.
lived behind me on the other side of the creek, saw it
Oh,
from
so
his
he
house
hopped in his car
and drove
zipped
around
over.
and came in.
Wow.
I said, you got a fire back there. It was
You
just a
want to
leaf
start
at
now,
that
John,
time.
or do you want
So I got this big, and I had just put my garden hose away. If my garden hose wasn't put away, I guess I put it away for the winter.
Yeah.
Start now?
And it was all unhooked. If I had my garden hose still hooked up, I could have got it out
Yeah.
easily.
I'll go get you.
Rather
Doug
than
will get you a chair
boiling water.
between frozen.
And it's funny, I think
Exactly.
When I became
Sit up, she wants up here, okay.
Oh, I'm gonna sit and relax just for a minute.
That's good. We all know how far you came from Pine Plains.
Let me bring a chair up there for you.
Right?
Hour.
Did you come all the way from Pine Plains?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow. Amazing.
How many miles?
But it's not the kind of.
I didn't count,
Didn't clock?
but according to
It's something we can do.
Google, it
for
was
our
58
legacy,
minutes.
For our health, for our fellow earthlings, and for everybody
You
else.
have a drink of water?
So I want to encourage everyone
have
to
a drink
take
of
one
spring water?
step in the direction of veganism, even if it's one day a week or just on weekends, or if it's one meal a day, but it's every day.
Wait, I know this
Breakfast is a
lady. What's her
very easy
name?
meal to veganize.
Patty, somebody.
Is cereal
Breit-
and
Breitman
milk.
or Breitman?
Jill Andros, this is Johanna,
It's from
Hi.
soybeans
Hi.
and this is Pat Sarr,
Hi.
Hi, Pat.
and Doug Van Auken,
Yeah,
Hi,
I heard you.
Doug.
and Sandy McLean,
Hi,
and
Sandy.
Andrew Grimm,
Hi,
and
Andrew.
Barbara.
And hi, Barbara.
And your name?
Johanna.
Almonds and then pump the skin
Johanna.
off and then put them in a blender with water and then strain them through cheesecloth. And I would make my own almond milk. And I thought that was so clever. I could have cereal with milk. And I made the milk myself. Now you can buy
And this
soy
is
milk,
the,
almond milk, hemp milk, rice milk,
Hawaiian Vegetarian
other
Society.
milks. Anyway, it's an exciting time to go
Patty
vegan because
bread.
people know what it is and there are more choices than there ever were.
But you know,
So
this
I
smells
encourage
so
everybody
good,
to
and I
take
don't
one
really
more
eat
step
cooked
in that
food, but I
direction.
would have
Whether
tasted
you're
it.
already a vegan,
She
try
doesn't
one of
eat
the other
cooked
corners of
food,
the
but
vegan
she's going to
tent.
taste ours.
And if you're not
Exactly.
already a vegan, try it at
Does it
least
smell
1 or 2
good?
days a week.
It smells
or
great.
1 or 2 meals a day.
So this is,
I just
This
want
is
to
a
encourage
vegan-
everyone to do that.
Well,
Can I
this
just
is
show of
the
hands
meatloaf.
if anyone is willing to
Oh,
eat
that's
one
a, no, that's made from grain, honey.
today?
And it's called
That's
Wham.
That's marvelous. That's marvelous. Thank you. A lot of hands went up.
Glendora, is
That's
it
so
okay if
exciting.
we pause it?
If you make that
and
commitment to
talk?
yourself, it's just.
Can we pause the video?
And
And
most people who
chit
talk
chat?
about going vegan, and our book
Yeah.
goes into this a lot, all the health benefits, all the
I love-
scientific
I
stuff,
love
the
listening
nutrition
to
stuff. There are experts in this room.
You do?
Who can talk about this
Well,
forever.
no, which do you
My
use?
son would love, my kids would love these
I guess you
veggies.
use
The
this.
medical,
Would they?
nutritional side
Yeah,
of it.
because I
I'm
read
trying to
them.
encourage you to think of it as a
Vegan.
bigger tent than that.
And,
It will help you get healthy. It will help you make the right choices for longevity. But more importantly,
Thank you, Pat.
I didn't do it yet.
Legacy of kindness.
Well, Johanna, I'm interested in hearing about, you follow a raw foods diet?
Yes.
Because I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, me too.
Really, Sandy, and you too, Jill?
Yeah, we all want to hear.
Why
I
is
don't know how
that,
you
huh?
do this.
Well, here I'm tasting your cooked stuff. Well, thank you for having me, and I'm happy to join wherever people are moving toward a healthier lifestyle, toward taking more control of our well-being, which for the longest time we've sort of handed over to others, right?
Yes.
I mean, in the old days, we've handed over our control to the masters or the lords or the kings and kaisers and emperors because they told us what we couldn't have, right?
Yeah.
And we needed to give them the good cuts. And those were all meats, the poor farmers or the people who were the subjects had to give all the what was considered the more expensive food, i.e. the meat, to the higher echelons, and therefore it became to be considered the better food.
Oh, goes way back to then.
Well, that's part of the reason why we've got this crazy meat craving going on in the world over the last 200 years that just increased every year. We increased as a human population around the globe consumption of animals. consumptions of animal products. And because in those older days, it was the food of the privileged. It was only the privileged who had gout and diseases like that and had to go and be bled. Remember those stories where people would actually the doctors would cut rich folks' veins and bleed them because that would relieve their high blood pressure for a moment. Of course, then they went home and ate more meat and it was right back up. But this whole perception that meat is a wonderful food for humans has been enhanced by this system, by a feudal system that then was taken over by a capitalist system where only the wealthy could afford to eat dead animals because it is 70 times more expensive in terms of input to produce a pound of flesh that you can then eat than it would be to just eat the grass or grow kale and cabbage and roots and grains on that same little piece of land that you need to feed that cow and the food. So it's a ratio is so crass from, a lot of you know that already, from eating plant-based food to eating dead animals, that we fed a huge amount of plants before we then ate them. That only the rich could afford to eat that way, to eat those dead animals. And then as we equalize society, which of course I believe is a very good thing, we suddenly have, however, this conception that now, we too can be rich, we too can eat meat, we too can have all that flesh because we too are well off now, or we too at least have equal rights to equal nutrition to what otherwise only the kings and queens would have. And it's interesting. I mean, most of you have probably seen Forks Over Knives, the movie.
What is it?
That
Forks.
would be Dr. Campbell.
Yeah, Dr. Campbell's
Forks Over Knives.
Forks Over Knives.
Dr. Campbell, he had 27 people and he cured all kinds of diseases.
Well, what it's based on is the China study. He went and did this huge study studying the diets of millions of people in China because you could have access to what they were eating at a given time, and he found out that when times were tough and people couldn't have meat, their cancer rates went down to almost zero, and when times were better in terms of meat food, suddenly the cancers came back. And that was seen also in Europe during the war, where, for example, as an example, he's showing that the Norwegian population had to give all their dairy cows to, or was it Sweden? It could have been
To the Nazis.
to the Nazis, because they just annexed the Scandinavian countries in so many ways. And suddenly there was no cancer, there was no heart disease, there was no such problems in that population, and you could see those records, deaths from, recorded. And he explored it on these large populations where you could get the records. And then, of course, after the war, everybody's back on their meat diet, and suddenly cancer and heart disease and arthritis and all these diseases come back. Not to say that malnutrition cannot also be a problem when you don't have enough to eat, but he studies it very exactly. So that's the Forks Over Knives, and comes to the conclusion that a plant-based diet is extremely more healthy, and then also looks into the science that I'm sure most of you are familiar with, that the human body is constructed as an herbivore. We have the same chemistry in our stomach. We don't have the hydrochloric acid that carnivores have. And I mean, there's a lot of that now on the internet that you can find. And he finds those things too. And then he meets another doctor. What's the other doctor's name?
Oh,
I forget, but who in his own practice comes to the same conclusions
Yep.
with his own research, more on the scientific side of things, of the chemistry of the foods, how they go together with the chemistry of human bodies. And they both come to the same conclusion, and then get together to make this documentary called Forks Over Knives that puts forth how much
And
humans
that's here in the
do that.
library too. Pat, isn't it? Forks Over Knives is here in the library.
I'm not sure. Is it Tracy?
Pat
do you
is
know?
our former
The
director of the
DVD
library.
Forks Over Knives is the library.
Oh, I'm not sure. I can go look and see.
Yeah. And it's very fun to watch, and it's just very well done. It's a good documentary. It's never boring, and you know how these things can be. And it spans the globe, which is even better. You know, it goes to Japan and looks at the populations there, China, then Scandinavia during the Second World War, and many other places, and finds those results. So my particular starting point was that I already knew that a plant-based diet is the much healthier way to go. I also had the experience that as a young person, I ate a lot of cheese and drank a lot of milk and was sick all the time and had, you know, the sinusitis, the bronchitis, the angina, the nose, throat, ear infections a lot. In fact, my balance is still broken kind of because the inner ear
Oh,
cannot fix itself.
really?
Oh. That's one of the things that, of course, yeah, you can't fix everything physical. Like I'm dealing at the moment with my teeth because there are fillings in my teeth that are almost as old as I am from childhood. Or, of course, then they've been renewed, but you can't make the teeth grow back, especially after a certain age. Sometimes when young people go raw, cavities grow over, they actually recover with enamel. But you have to be younger than I was when I went raw. So I find out that yes, you can do a lot of preventive medicine with plant-based food. But if you want to really rejuvenate cell reproduction, what do you need? From a science point of view, what do you need when you want to rejuvenate cell reproduction? What does a new cell need?
Living foods, right?
Living foods, yeah, but in terms of scientific elements, we need essential fatty acids to build new healthy cell walls. We need enzymes, phytonutrients, and we need, of course, other things like vitamin D and good water, alkaline products. But very, very essential are these two things, enzymes and essential fatty acids. And both of those only come in raw, cold foods. That's why your flaxseed oil, a very important omega-3 rich essential fatty acid, is kept in the cooler, right? In the store when you go buy it, or your
So you use the oil instead of a flaxseed like powder?
no, well, flaxseed powder goes rancid very fast because the flax seed, once broken open, is very vulnerable.
I keep it in the fridge. That's where I keep mine. I pour it in
Right.
my oatmeal every morning.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely keeping it better than keeping it out. Yeah.
Right.
But those are very vulnerable elements. Enzymes die at 120 degrees. Essential fatty acids get contaminated or form other forms of fats that are trans fats or hardened fats, i.e. Saturated fats. So when you get to that temperature, those very elements that we need to reproduce healthy cells in order for our skin to generate, I mean, within reason, obviously, but for our organs to regenerate, we need those elements in our foods. And you could say, well, you know, I have a regular diet and I'm just eating my flaxseed every day, or my 3 spoonfuls of oil, or I'm eating my smoothie in the morning, and that's good. That gives you extra ability to. But if you also have a lot of issues and want to clear them up, and if you, like me, are a late mom, I had my kids at 40 and 42, and you want to stick around for your grandchildren, you know, and still be able to play basketball or something with them, then you just have to do as much rejuvenation from the inside out as you possibly can. So it all depends on our intention as well. If we are fine with retiring and, you know, sitting in our rocking chair and going to the doctor every week, then fine. You know, then it becomes like a lifestyle. For me, that was really not an option. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to stay as fit as I possibly could. And of course, staying fit means that you have to do other things. You have to also exercise, you have to breathe in fresh air, you have to get sunshine for the vitamin D production, and so you basically have to change your lifestyle. You can't be sitting on the couch or in your rocking chair, and you know, it's just not going to happen if you want to stay alive and well. But in my particular story, I also was in a period now almost 12 years ago, or I was already in it 12 years ago, where I was highly, highly stressed, slept very little because I was doing so much, and I had a mini stroke. So I was out for, it was very funny when I think of it, incident, you know, where I was just like, control, freeze. You know, the body refused to be governed by me for so many seconds, you know, and I was kind of conscious, I was totally conscious actually, but I couldn't connect with my body. It just wouldn't do, you know, I was just like, ah! You know, and until I came back in, and luckily all functions were retrieved, I hope, and that gave me the final call, and I said, you know, a bigger one of these, and I'll be damaged or dead, and I want to be here for my kids. And so that's when I made the final decision. I'm really going raw now, and I started inventing dishes, because I'm also a gourmet eater. I love tasty, varied, international foods, and creating things in my kitchen, and together with my kids from when they were little, you know, we would always like do inventions and baking and making and soups and cakes and cookies. And because I wanted them to have this organic lifestyle, I also did everything in organic. And then they go to school, you know, what do they eat at school if you want to raise them vegan and organic, you know, so you have little lunch packs, and they have to look like other kids' lunch somewhat, you know, so they also have to have a sausage, or they have to have a burger, or they have to have something that looks like other people's stuff, right? Like organic gummy bears, and, you know, they will tell you long stories, organic M&Ms, you know. So that, I mean, you want to do the right thing, but you also don't want to be completely outside the box. And if you want your children to be world citizen and feel like, you know, they could be at home anywhere. And I traveled a lot with my children, so that added to that. I traveled, we lived, and because I worked in part in Europe and in Romania, and then for a while in Namibia, and here in the U.S. So, and keeping that lifestyle you have to adapt it to the respective cultural environment that you're in so that you don't become too much of an oddball. So going raw, the ambition became the same, that we can create everything that we can create in the cooked also in the raw. Or, to put it a little more crass, everything we can make in the dead, we can also make in the live. And what do you prefer? So, but with all those scientific considerations that we really need more of those enzymes, essential fatty acids, and vitamins, of course. But we all know that vitamin C dies when we boil it, right? It's useless when we have an apple or an orange and we put them in the pot and cook them, then all the vitamin C is gone.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have to eat them raw.
Yeah, to get the full benefit of vitamin C, especially, and other vitamins. Vitamin A keeps a little bit better. Vitamin B's keep, but you always get the less absorbable version because what gets immediately absorbed by all living beings on the planet, when you think about it, right, is what has the combination of nutrients and fibers and fats, etc., that come in the plant that we have, that we pick. So if I take things apart, for example, because I want to have a supplement of just the vitamin B or just the this and the other, I can help my deficiencies, but I can't get the same easy effect that I get if I just eat the plant fresh when it has all those respective vitamins and nutrients in it. So to me it made a lot of sense. There's another aspect that I'd like to point out in lectures that can be seen as a reason for the science of life on planet Earth. Life on planet Earth has certain basic laws, right, that may not apply in other universes, but that apply on the planet. One of them is gravity. Now, I know that some of you may have been thinking about mysterious levitations, but the basic law is there is a magnetic attraction toward the center of the Earth, and when you drop a rock from a cliff, it will not fly up, it will fall. Some creatures, of course, break those laws, like bumblebees. They can fly by the vibration of their wings, in spite of the fact that their body is far too heavy to warrant that. But one of the laws on planet Earth is gravity. That's why we can, another one of the, that's why we can stand. But another one on the planet is that life has a suction force upward toward the universe, toward, this way, outward. If this is the planet, there's a suction force. That's why we can stand up. That's why the tree can grow against gravity away from the core of the planet, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this force toward the universe that, however, only works when we're connected to the earth. We can stand up straight, the plants grow away, we can walk on joints that are actually very fragilely constructed, and our weight, if we were not alive, would crush those joints, the cartilages. I mean, think of your foot and all those tiny little bones. Think of the skeleton of your foot, right? And how delicate that is, and the weight of your whole body. If you take away the suction force of life outwards toward the universe, you collapse. And of course, if you die right now, you do not keep standing, right? You collapse. The gravity grabs you. So there are these two forces, and only when you're alive do you have the force to go. For the trees, it's the same thing. I mean, they are hard enough to stay upright when they're dead to a certain extent, but yeah. And another one of those basic laws on planet Earth is the temperature of life. What happens to your child when your child has 105 fever or 106 fever, or what happens? Our brain gets boiled, right? It cannot sustain that heat on the inside. The same is true for a cactus. Cactus can withstand a lot of outside heat because it has a hard shell. On the inside, that cactus is at the temperature of life, not above 120 degrees. It's lower than that. So that's why it's refreshing when in a desert, there are all these stories, you find a cactus and can suck its juice, it will be not boiling hot as the sun outside would have it, because as long as that cactus is alive, it is within that temperature range. So there is a limit at which we can be alive and things can be alive, and it stands to reason that we help our own aliveness with more of that life force, that is that force that draws away from the planet and that can regenerate itself only below a certain temperature. So if we put a lot of materials that have undergone death through heat, we ourselves have a harder time rejuvenating. Basic thoughts. So when we recognize that, we also recognize that life can survive freezing. Like the lakes freeze over and all the algae and plants and buds and trees, our gardens freeze over and all the little bulbs for next spring are in there, can survive freezing. And of course today we freeze embryos and we freeze all sorts of things, and they can come back to life. We think we can freeze our bodies and come back to life. I don't think that's going to happen. But life survives freezing, but not heat above 120 degrees. So all these scientific, if you will, considerations combined give me the understanding that the human body in and of itself does better with plant-based raw foods, or needs plant-based raw foods in order to stay alive and not degenerate faster.
You don't heat them, you eat them raw.
Right.
Are there any vegetables that should not be eaten raw? Like,
I mean, they're just some plants that are just not so good for us, I suppose. It's not very pleasant to eat beans, for example, raw. However, when you sprout them, and that life force, which is another thing that I like talking about, when you have a seed, a nut, which is also a seed, a bean, which is also a seed, right? This tiny little thing has the blueprint for the entire plant in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Has the power in it to the concept, I like to call it, because it's more than just the power to grow, it's the concept also what the whole structure will be, right? I mean, the little seed for an apple tree, contains the entire tree plus the apples plus the new seeds that are in the apples, and it's an enormous, it's like a tiny little cell of information today in the age of computers, where we have tiny little chips that contain a lot of information. A seed is really a chip containing the entire information for that plant.
Yeah.
And its entire life cycle, its growth and its decay and its re-entry into the earth and what it does there too, because it provides certain nutrients as it decays again for the next round of growth. And our bodies are actually part of that cycle too, which we often forget. We talk about all the things outside of us. Well, what about our body? How does that function? It is also a plant in so many ways. It is also this functioning, cycling entity that in and of itself, to a majority, actually consists of smaller independent entities of bacteria, viruses, parasites, and other microbes that are not human cells. This body here that we live in consists to a majority of germs. You know, the stuff that everybody is so afraid of is actually what we're made of, to a majority. And, you know, we go through different cultural phases where we suddenly bedevil something. Now, we've bedeviled the germs forever, and now we realize, and this is not my idea, this is scientifically in the literature, you can find it easily. I just a year ago heard a professor talk to Terry Gross on NPR about that fact that our bodies, and Terry was saying, "Are you telling me that I consist of all these germs?" He says, "Yeah, that's right." So they had a good laugh, but that is a fact that we're not realizing, that everything that is alive consists of multiple entities that regenerate all the time. The other day I heard that the heart muscle in humans renews itself every 21 days. I was shocked.
Wow, I didn't know
That sounds crazy to me. I mean, I'd love to look it up right now, whether it's on, because I was like, oh my God, that's crazy fast. But the heart muscle is the fastest rejuvenating organ in the body because, you know, it's all blood and work, and it is incredibly powerful. It puts millions of gallons of blood through our blood vessels all the time. It's unbelievable. It's a machine that is incredible. And, you know, of course, everybody measures everything in miles and meters. I forget how many miles of blood vessels we have, but it's a lot. and so we have this organism, as I say, I live in this body. This body is not I. I live in this body. There's still me, my being, that controls what I'm doing with this body, and that learns how to handle this body, and that puts information and is able to think. But in order to keep this machine going, we should really ask, what is it made of, and what does it really need to keep itself running? We're more likely to put so many people have made this joke or this comment that it's kind of redundant. You know, we're more likely to put good gas in our cars than we're willing to put good food or good fuel in our bodies, right? And we wouldn't suddenly put water in our gas tank just because it's cheaper, right? Or because we feel like it, or because it tastes better than oil, or whatever, you know. We just wouldn't do it. But we put all sorts of other stuff into this machine here, our wonderful body, because we think, oh, we can take it, or because it's culture. And culture has been with humanity, in my view, forever. We've always been a cultured species. We need to create culture, and we are creative, right? And therefore we must invent things. And we invent a lot of things when you look back over the many cultures that you can remember. I'm sure every one of you can think of something that was really counterproductive. Can anybody think of one thing that you can see? What did humanity invent in history that was really kind of abusive or counterproductive?
Guns.
Yeah?
Guns.
Guns? Well, yeah.
They're pretty counterproductive.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
trouble is that if you have them, the next guy's gonna have them too.
What about, and culturally related things? Yeah, definitely. killing instruments. What about cultural things like the Romans? How did they destroy their bodies? Ate from what? Lead plates, drank from lead cups. The women put lead paste in their faces because it made them nice and pale. And they knew full well that the people who worked in the lead mines had 3 years. If they would work 4 years in a mine, they would die. If 3 years, they might recover. But they died very, very miserable deaths. Because what happens if you have too much lead in your body, the organs kind of deteriorate as while you're still alive. And you basically spit out your guts because they deteriorate in the end. It's very, very miserable. But it's all documented. We just don't like to talk about these things because, you know, we've had lead pipes in our houses too for the longest time, right? Because it was convenient. Think of other things.
The mercury in fillings.
Right, mercury. There you go. Mercury in fillings. I mean, who came up with? It's the second most poisonous thing on the planet, right after plutonium. And we put it in our mouth. Hello. Great example. Any more?
Smoking.
Smoking. There you go. You know, put that smoke in our lungs just because some people used it as a ritual, the Native Americans, of course, you know, and smoke was used to smoke out insects and pests in living quarters. So smoking out our lungs may have seemed like a good thing to smoke out the germs. And I'm sure some people have had some ideas in that direction. Yeah, another great example. And further in history, what about women tying their children's feet in China? But,
That wasn't a food related, though.
okay, but I mean,
No, but
it's cultural.
Right, culture,
Yeah.
that's what she's looking
Yeah, cultural issues. Very, very detrimental to women, you know, and they did that for hundreds and hundreds of years. Thousands, probably. We did it in Europe,
High
too.
heels.
High heels, there you go. You know, very destructive. Corsets. Think a few hundred years back, corsets.
There was a girl, Sandy and I were at the St. Louis, and there was a girl there, she had 4-inch heels.
Maybe more like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't keep them on for very long, no.
No, she didn't.
She had them for about 10 minutes and then she came back in a pair of boots.
Yeah, etc. So our inventions are not necessarily good for longevity or for good health. Why? That's a big, big question. I have my own answers that I could talk a long time about. One of the reasons is because we don't want to take responsibility for the well-being of our body. We think that is whose responsibility?
The doctor.
Doctor.
The doctors and
Yeah, look how. The
And-
pills, the pharmacist.
The big
Well-
guy in the sky.
Yeah.
that's right,
Right.
because this is my fate and this is my karma or this is my lot and I have to bear it and I have to live through it.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, we assign that responsibility to outside forces, whether it's in our society to the doctors and pharmacists and preachers and healers and so forth, and or we assign it to the respective gods in many, many cultures all around the globe. Never mind what religion. But what is happening now everywhere in the world? People are waking up to the fact that we can be, must be co-responsible. Where else have we started realizing that we're responsible for the sustainability of things?
It's the environmental.
Exactly. In the environmental movement, we've realized that we are actually responsible for this little planet because we've got so many weapons lying around, we could blow it up. I mean, they fight over whether 20 times over or 70 times over. We've got so many nuclear weapons on this planet. We could literally blow the whole thing up multiple times over. What sense does that make? You know, it's like Al Gore says in his documentary, you know, gold, life on planet Earth. Gold, life on planet Earth. It's, you know, yeah. So, and because life on planet Earth, of course, includes your life and our kids' lives and everybody's lives. So we're not necessarily able yet, as all of humanity, to really take responsibility, but we're beginning to see that we must, if we don't want to disappear or be our own destructors. So, in that regard, raw food is also helping the planet because it's direct food, even though when I'm doing this here, I manufacture it, I put it through all sorts of processes. But it's direct food. It's the plant grows, we prepare it so that it becomes a cultured, creative item, because food, of course, is also a gathering place of groups of humanity, families, or like we're sitting here now, or organizations and companies and festivities, and we gather around food. It's just, that's part of existence, and that shouldn't be taken away. So creativity should be there, but the more direct the food is, the better it is for the planet, because it doesn't partake in the crazy machinery that has arisen around food production, large scale, meaning that you grow huge amounts of food, feed it to huge amounts of animals, and then slaughter the animals and put them through all sorts of processes in big plants, corporate.
And then you have the GMO issue on top of that.
Then you have the GMO issue on top of that, where, again, the responsibility goes in a different way, that few people believe that they can manipulate the rest into taking their creations. That's a whole other issue, but it springs somewhat from the same desire of humanity to control, but not really realizing that responsibility for the whole, for the planet, for the body, and of course, when you really look into what's happening, most people who create GMO foods don't eat them because they know better, or who promote and sell, they go home and eat organic. It's really ironic. Some people have looked into what some of the Monsanto bosses are actually eating at home, and it's not their GMO crops.
Scared themselves.
It's a self-perpetuating mechanism of feudalism going into capitalism, going into. Yeah. So, anyway, I said I wanted to be open for questions and answers, so yes, please.
Yeah, so, does eating locally grown things come into your diet? Or
Definitely. Definitely. As much as possible, as close to home as possible. Of course, when I'm producing, this is a product line that I'm producing that has the intention is raw food goes mainstream, and I do want this in supermarkets, and I do want everybody to realize you can eat wonderfully tasting foods. And I'm gonna have you guys, I know you've just eaten and you're probably all terribly full, so maybe we should just stick to the desserty stuff. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Oh, I don't know about all.
Yeah.
Would
Okay.
you want everybody to have spoons?
There are 3 dry products, and these 2
How
dry
about I give
products.
them spoons?
This is still a little bit frozen. You see the wet product, because I don't want to use preservatives. We make in our little factory and we freeze them right away. And
Where is your factory, Johanna?
in Pine Plains.
In Pine Plains?
It's a tiny
Yeah.
factory. It's
Well,
not like,
No,
Wow.
it's no New Jersey size factory.
two or three, you
How
know.
big a role,
Pass
you
it
mentioned
around.
sprouting before.
Yes.
How central is that, or how significant is that to you in terms of your overall diet and what you try to?
Really? Do
The-
we need them?
Yeah, I think.
Sometimes when people go vegan, they lack
They're little.
the dense, powerful foods. And, you know, if you go vegan and you don't go organic and you don't do all the green stuff, etc., and just leave out meat and keep eating your donuts, you are exactly on the opposite end of where you kind of should be. So a vegan diet needs dense, can't think of the word, that's ridiculous, proteins. And it needs dense proteins and dense fiber. So sprout,
Variety.
right, and variety, exactly.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
But specifically to sprouting, food, plant-based proteins are the most dense in the newly sprouted
Right.
grain or seed, whether it's lentil seeds. I eat lentil seeds and mung beans, but also it's a price. It's a cost issue. You know, sprouted legumes are just not very expensive, and they're delicious and very dense, wonderful food. And some people will say, you know, raw food is very expensive, and these products, of course, are very expensive because they are prepared and they go through all sorts of, you know, I sell to the distributor sells to the wholesaler and to the store, and then you buy it, and you know, you already have all this stacked on margin. Yes.
Do you have a week's menu of raw food? What you eat on Monday, what you eat on Tuesday, what you eat?
There is a book that I have a chapter in of many. It's called "What Do Raw Foodists Eat?" And that has many, many examples of exactly that. You know, what people eat in the morning at lunch. And we wrote down, all us participants, I think there was 48 of us, wrote down exactly what we ate for 1 week. And of course it can vary greatly.
What raw foodists eat?
Yes, what raw foodists eat. Mm-hmm. Or what
we
do
have that,
raw
Pat?
foodists eat.
I don't think so. You'd have to look it up.
But that's a good question. You know, I happen to also have made raw food dinners for restaurants.
Yeah.
And so you know, you make appetizers and soups and the main dish and then the dessert. Everything is raw.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that?
The most I made for Boston Spa, a restaurant called 50 South.
What's it called?
50 South.
50 South, that's
Because
a route
it's-
number, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's on Route 50.
It's on
Yeah,
Route 50.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming from Saratoga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kim
Yeah.
Klopstock is the owner.
And what's the name of it?
50 South Restaurant.
50 South Restaurant, oh, okay.
Yeah.
In Boston, about Boston Spa itself, or?
Yes,
in
in Boston
area?
Spa,
Okay.
kind of a little bit between Boston Spa and Saratoga, a little bit out of that.
Now, is it a raw foods restaurant, or this is
No,
just
not
one
at
of,
all.
one of the choices on the menu?
It's, well, no, what we did is we did a once a month special raw food dinner, and I'm not doing it at the moment because I'm just too busy with the company. What I would do is I would invent a whole menu with sometimes 10, 20 different dishes, because there would be 2 types of appetizers. For example, stuffed mushrooms, and there would always be a theme. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, I'm doing a raw brunch, a little bit like that, next Sunday, this coming Sunday, in Pine Plains.
Where?
in Pine Plains,
In Pine Plains,
Yeah,
Route 82?
at my factory on Church Street, Route 199.
And what's the
Route
name of your,
199.
what's the name of the factory? Does it have a sign on the road or anything?
Johanna's Raw Foods.
Okay.
Not really, no, but it's right on
I
the.
think if
on the
I
street.
passed that and you hadn't told me, I would know what it was.
Exactly, you wouldn't because we don't have a proper awning yet or
Okay.
anything, yeah, we're still very poor.
What's the address on the GPS?
It's 2953 Church Street, Pine Plains.
2953 Church Street.
Yeah,
Pine
I have cards so that have
Yeah,
a.
that's great.
Signs in the car. No notepad or anything for
Yeah,
that.
I've got.
Mark it.
So how do we go about tasting these? We've all got spoons.
Okay, we all, we'll start with the savory, that's veggie burger bites and carrot crackers. And is it okay if I break them without gloves? You know, when I go
Yes.
into
Yes,
stores, I
that's
have to
fine.
have gloves on.
Right.
Otherwise, all the germs get in there and mix with your germs. And then they're gonna have a party and who knows what happens. Yeah. So, and then these can be, these go great together with, here, you need to like scratch off the edges.
Barbara.
Do you want, can I give you a little bit of the pesto?
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna touch anything, and the reason is I'm aware of this problem. There, no, that is true.
Well, thank you.
There is a lot of, problem with flu going around, and
Oh,
this could be a source of spreading it. So I'm not gonna.
Do you have the flu at the moment?
No, I don't, but,
I don't
I
even.
don't know of anyway, and I did have a shot, so.
Okay.
Should be good.
Yeah, then you might have.
Oh,
it.
great, thank you.
No,
I'm so concentrating here.
I'm going to take it.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, both the veggie burger bites and the veggie burger bites are here. Veggie burger bite.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's all veggies
Delicious.
and
Latest for that.
that's the cashew
Are
cheese.
we coming back?
And then we get to
And you
ginger
might need another
brownies.
cracker because there's some cheese
These we
coming.
have to break too.
All right.
I'll show you.
Well,
Not
and
cheese,
you
it's
have a
like-
glove, but it's
Oh,
on
I
the
see, you got
car.
the cracker, that's.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Barbara?
I was just gonna dip the cracker in. What is
29,
this now?
53.
Church Street. I have business cards that I can.
And Church
Ca-
Street, is that the
Cashew
main drag
Dreams.
on 82 going to sit on 82?
Cashew
Well,
cream
82
cheese
goes,
with a
goes
Z.
at an angle in Pine
Wow.
Plains.
That's really good.
Takes
So
90
it's Church
degrees.
Street off of 82?
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Tracy, this is all
delicious.
about raw foods.
Try this
These are here for
cashew.
you.
Cashews?
Cashews, yeah. I
Cashews,
gotta get
yeah.
my phone
Wow.
and take some pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course now we have, seeing that she's having a baby,
That
we
is
have
very good.
families that raise
I have
their
s-
kids all
It is
raw
very
and.
What is in there besides cashews?
She's got it listed down there. I'm sure she has to list the ingredients.
Oh, the cashew, yeah, I make this at home.
You make
do?
this too?
Like the raw cashews and,
So good.
and water, a little bit of water.
Oh, this is fresh organic lemons, fresh organic lemon juice,
Wow.
raw cashews with fresh organic
The label
lemons,
too, I'm sure
and
she's got
Yeah.
the
Right.
label.
and a little bit of tomato, a tiny little bit of onion, and then spices, onion spices.
Glendora, did you get some of this? You want anything more, Doug,
No,
before I
no.
bring it down?
City, Elephant
Wow,
Can I bring that back
Fine
to her?
point.
that is so good.
Plains, that's the place.
Yep,
She's also
I did a
got-
restaurant there one
Go.
time.
That
I
is
know you've
delicious.
just-
Glendora, did you get a chance to try these?
Yeah, I-
Wow.
Well, here come the desserts. Does anybody
Oh.
have
Room for
spoons?
dessert?
No, what?
Yeah, we all have spoons.
Good.
We all have a spoon. We
Got
can
your
take a
DVD,
sample.
right?
I got it, Glendora, yes. I'm so happy about that. Yeah.
For this, we really need
Can I get some water?
Yes,
Oops.
please.
Well,
Did you have a
probably
ginger
not,
brownie?
so easily.
No, not yet. I'd like to try one of those.
They do, honey. Right, got it.
The little cayens.
Johanna, would you like some water? Or you have?
Sandy, I
That-
would love some water.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheeseburger
Anybody
bites.
else need water?
The cheeseburger.
These are little treats
That's
that
the
we're
ginger.
hoping
Where'd
to
the
That's
eat.
ginger
ginger.
come from? That is
The library wants me to say something about this.
Oh, all right, yes.
Just nuts and raw cacao
Let's see
and, so. Pass around. How's that?
Yeah, I like it. Doug, here's the dessert.
Do you need some water,
Yes,
Deb?
and I'll be sampling some too.
Here, I have the water
Oh, you
here.
have the water.
Yeah, this is a dessert that can be eaten like ice cream.
Wow.
So you've been eating raw for how many years, honey?
Almost 12 now.
12 years.
I think this one I
You
might
see, and I haven't even eaten my little tasters here that I wanted to eat, because I've been talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Pat, did you try these?
I did, very good.
Yep. Oh, I don't think I tried that one.
Cold now.
So what's the name of that book?
How people eat.
What?
How
Raw
people eat
food?
raw? Oh, no, what
No.
raw?
Yeah.
What people
What
eat.
raw fooders eat.
What raw food?
Fruiters eat.
What raw fooders eat?
Yeah.
Or raw food just.
And of course, you don't have to run into the problem of preservatives, right? No preservatives in raw food.
No preservatives, no. Definitely not. You would dehydrate products if they're long lasting, that's why, these things are
Did
crunchy
you
and
pass that later?
dry.
This one?
It is.
This?
You sure you don't want to try?
No, that's the one I already tried.
Okay, did you get this one?
And what's your
With the
reason?
This is
coconut?
what's
Sounds like a
helping
brownie
you
or
more.
Yeah.
fudge or something.
What?
I'm very prejudiced against it.
What?
I'm very prejudiced against it, I'll be honest.
Against
Oh,
what?
okay.
That's fine.
Against
Raw
raw?
food,
Oh, are you?
Oh,
I mean, raw carrots are fun.
Is it
What-
because
what
you like,
makes them
is it because you
fine?
like to cook, Barbara?
What makes them fine? What makes the raw carrots fine?
They give me for more variety in the food.
So what makes,
Variety.
what makes raw carrots better than other raw foods? That's what I'm asking, because you're saying you're prejudiced against raw foods, but you like raw carrots?
Yeah. I like raw carrots, I like berries, I eat raw foods, along with the cooked foods,
Yeah.
the processed foods.
And what makes this difficult for you?
These are so good.
It's,
Need anything else?
it's too narrow.
I'm so
It's
full from dinner
the
that I
idea is
The dinner was very
again,
good,
getting
too.
away from variety.
Oh, no, not at all.
That's
That's
what
why I make
Beef
so many
dessert
different
I
things.
didn't like.
You have your opinion and you
yeah,
come
those
on.
desserts are tempting. You can keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I just want you to know that there's no limit to the foods that can be made, just as
Well,
many
there's
as
no
you can
limit
make.
to really to the food I eat. I do limit to a large extent meat,
Mm-hmm,
but I'm not
Yeah.
totally without meat. either.
yeah, and what is your thought on why you want to eat less meat?
I think I'm better off.
Mhm.
It's not based on the fact that animals are being treated cruelly, because there's one person not eating meat isn't good enough and make that much difference. But I don't eat much meat. I do eat salmon, which are taken just before they
I
die.
had your post.
Anyway.
Thank you.
You may have come across the stories that are told by the Inuit that when they go whale hunting, they don't hunt the whale, they wait for the whale to come to them to say, I'm the one who needs to go. Which is an interesting concept too in some cultures.
They would have to have
So
meat to
it's a pity
survive,
that,
wouldn't they, an Inuit?
They have been, the food has been taken away from them.
From?
The Inuits have had their food taken away from them by the whale hunters.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
they
And the
are-
whole
Do
system.
you make anything in blenders?
Blenders and Cuisinarts and dehydrators are my main machines.
Oh,
Now, the flax seeds that listed here, now not whole, but to the ground,
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
grind them fresh before.
And
Some remain whole.
do you
but-
use a grinder, like an electric grinder, or do you use a mortar and pestle, or how?
Blender?
Or a blender, I don't know, blender would break.
Yeah, blender breaks some and leaves some whole. The Vitamix breaks them, definitely.
I'm sorry?
The Vitamix blender, it's a very
Vitamix.
strong blender,
Is there any other
The bullet, like the
mechanical way?
bullet,
would break them too.
would break them.
Yeah, regular blenders only break some and leave a lot whole.
Yeah.
And mostly we put some whole and some
Is there
broken in
any
there.
straight mechanical way to break the seed itself that's effective?
Of course, I mean that's what the machines that squeeze out the oil use. You know, that's a crushing of
Right.
the mechanical crushing of the seed. But we don't do that because we don't want the oil. We just want some broken down seeds because we use flaxseed in the veggie burger bites as glue, as binders.
Right. Now, how about chia? Do you use chia?
Chia is wonderful, but it's so expensive, it's
It is
prohibitive.
expensive.
Yeah, to use in a product, yeah.
Unless you get
Even
it
large
on
wholesale. Say again?
Yeah, unless you get it on sale, and like at the co-op in Albany, where you can, I wait for it to go on sale, and then since I'm a working member there, you get a 24%
Uh-huh.
discount, so it brings it down
Right,
within some reason.
right. But when you
But
compare
otherwise-
flaxseed at $2 a pound and chia seed at $12 a pound.
Yeah, it's a
You know.
delicacy. I mean, it's
It's-
yeah.
Yeah. And they have,
But the thing about it
Almost
is it's
similar
used,
nutritional.
there's no prep involved. You just, the chia seeds are, by themselves, are digestible.
that I just love.